What is going on? Welcome to Only Football at Night. Um, I think I'm going to start that. I have titled this episode "The Episode I Didn't Know I Always Needed." After long consideration on how to put my feelings into a title, that's where I ended up. So you would think the longer you think, the more the better the title would have been. Not in this case, because I'm gonna roll right into it. If you guys pay attention to any NFL media, NFL News, ESPN, NFL Network, hell, this story made its way onto non-sports media news channels. Sean Payton did something today that really shocked a large amount of people, and he took some shots at his well, I guess he was the successor. No, his okay, he took shots at Nathaniel Hackett. Nathaniel Hackett, we all know it was an atrocious. It was a nightmare. Okay, now the reason I enjoy this story so much, Bill in the chat, he goes Sean Scorched Earth Peyton. The reason this story meant so much to me personally, is because I am very, very invested into my football team, and I I tend to be right about my team because I know them so well. I know what they're capable of. I know, um, I can remove my biases and see my team for who they really are. And when the deal happened and we had that defense and we were adding Russell Wilson, I did truly believe that this was a team that could go to the Super Bowl. I know that sounds crazy right now, but this was not just anybody. Russell Wilson was coming over. We really that was weird. We really felt like we had a chance last year. And then I was at week 1 and I watched that and I thought a lot, really hard about it and I said, "You know what? He was probably nervous. We just chalk it up. It was his first time. Moving on. We'll see how they do at Texans." Then the week 2 game against the Texans, the crowd is counting down, cuz the play clock. I mean, there was a series of events where Denver was in field goal range and they got 2 delayed game penalties and they ended up having to punt the ball. And I'm watching this and I'm like, I've been a Broncos fan for a while and I've seen a lot of bad regimes come in and I don't know how this is happening. How can someone be that bad at coaching? And we looked at Russell Wilson because there was plenty of film out there where regardless of what Sean Payton said today, there was film out there of wide receivers that were open in the middle of the field, and Russell Wilson just did not make the throw. That happened as well. So when Sean Payton got hired, it was like, okay, well, now we will at least know the truth because you have your Russell Wilson people over here that are like Nathaniel Hackett was a disaster. Even once Denver fired him after getting embarrassed on Christmas, it was like we played the Chiefs, almost won, and then we played the Chargers, who were already in the playoffs, but they wanted to play their starters to take momentum into the playoffs, and they lost. So there was a side to be said for like, hey, isn't that weird? Once we got rid of that guy that, had to basically hire someone for play calling and hire a game manager, it's like, bro, what do you do here? You literally don't have a job right now. You're just like a hype man. I don't know. Once we got rid of that guy, all of a sudden the game started looking better. The offense started looking better. So I get it. But then there's the film of him missing those open, there's a lot of dirt on his hand too. So when Peyton got hired, what are the expectations? Well, it depends how you think about Russell Wilson. And if you're a guy that thinks it was mostly Nathaniel Hackett, then you're going to be a person that thinks that we are going to be a much improved team. But if your common denominator is that Russell Wilson is washed and we got literally the worst fleecing in NFL history, potentially, if you're one of those, then the problem isn't solved. So Sean Payton didn't have to come out with this quote. He didn't have to say this, and actually, not only did he not have to say it, that's dumb to say. He probably shouldn't have said it. I don't know if I've ever seen a coach blast the people that he works for. This was not just a Nathaniel Hackett blast. Like Bill said, Sean scorched earth Payton. He scorched everybody, the cooks. I mean, he called out the team president and the general manager. That was very surprising. But if you wanted to be an optimistic Bronco fan and think to yourself late at night, when everyone's asleep and you shouldn't be thinking about the Broncos, you want to think to yourself, what if it was all Nathaniel Hackett? What if we had a Super Bowl roster, but the team was just ran so bad? Like it's like how much destruction is one human capable of that's in charge of your football team? That is the question. And depending on, how you answer that question depends on how much you, would blame them. And for me, I think one coach can totally destroy a football team, a culture, everything. And I think that's what happened. But we never heard it said. So when I turned on the TV this morning and Sean Payton said this stuff, I was so happy. I was so happy because that means to me, you know, maybe this is the fan in me, but what I needed to hear to have strong belief moving forward was that this was the most poorly ran franchise maybe ever last year. And that's exactly what he told us. So I do look at it as some sort of a relief. I am an empathetic person. So for Nathaniel Hackett, I truly don't love it. And you can make an argument that the comment is very assholey, and you can make an argument that Sean Payton is an asshole. But being a you know um, friendly person is not part of the job description in the NFL. And when you have as much long-term success as Sean Payton, you lose your filter more and more. It's like the the higher your status goes, for coaches, right? Not politicians, it's the opposite. But for coaches, it's like the more you accomplish, the more you feel that I can say this because I've earned the right to say these things. I've been around long enough to know how things should go, what respect looks like on the field, what a um, team energy, the vibe of the team, the chemistry that they feel on the field. I know what all that should be, and when it's not that, I can point it out, right? It's like if you see if you're truly a good person, you will be able to discern when bad things are happening. Something will rise up in you and say that's just not right, and you have no problem saying it because it's the truth. And yes, should he have sugarcoated it maybe a little bit just to ease, the blow that he sent? Probably. He probably could have, said it, but I don't know if this was strategic, but just the fact that Sean Payton has said that, I mean, I would imagine somebody like Sean Payton's been around a lot, right? Long coaching, he changed teams a lot. Um, he worked his way into this role. He's seen a lot of different team dynamics. So for him to say this is not nothing. This is imagine, if Bill Belichick gets fired from the Patriots, then he comes over to, the Texans, and he's like, "Is this how you guys are running things?" You ever gone to when you're a kid, you go over to a friend's house. I know my parents, you couldn't swear. Smoking pot, it was like they weren't the parents that are like, just do it in the basement. I would rather you be safe. They were like, no, no, no BS, no cussing. If you're talking to somebody, you got to look them in the eye. Just no sloppy behavior. But I had friends to this day; they're good friends of mine, and I would go to their house, and one of them would be screaming, "Fuck!" And I remember being like, "You guys, you can say that?" And you would just see all the turmoil going on at their house, the chaos. It was chaos, right? And at the end of the day, I would go home and I would say, "You know what? I hate all the rules and the restrictions, and I wish I could swear and play video games late and, you know, drink a beer. But at the end of the day, it feels nice to come home into order. When you've been in chaos all day, order feels very nice and comforting. You're like, you know what? I want, to live like this." I think Sean Payton has lived order as a head coach, and he just came over to the crazy friend's house that's allowed to do whatever the hell they want. Dad's functioning alcoholic some of the times, just craziness, right? Sean Payton just came over here, and I think it might have been a slow build, and it finally got to a point where it just collapsed. It was like, because this, unless it was strategic, seems very emotional. The word choice that he used seems emotional. This is the quote, okay? So Peyton's goal is to recalibrate the franchise that owns 3 Lombardi trophies. And you also got to know, for Bronco fans, what feels so good about this is even after Manning won Super Bowl 50 and retired, even though we've been bad since then, it was like 3 years after that we finally lost the title of more Super Bowl appearances than losing seasons. So being a fan of the Denver Broncos, there has always been a standard of success. It's like it is a team where if you don't make the playoffs, you failed. There's no like, not making the playoffs would never satisfy a Broncos fan. There's just been too many year where we have a way we're used to. Just like the Patriots will never ever, especially this, the next generation, like the younger kids, they might not know it, but the people my age will never allow the Patriots to become mediocre. There's always going to be that expectation because of what, with the standard that's been set. So everything I heard about last season, this is what Sean Payton said. Let me see if they're gonna do. I think they're gonna put the whole quote here. "Everything I heard about last season, we are doing the opposite," Payton told Jarrett Bell of USA Today. Never once to mince words, the Super Bowl winning coach took direct shots at the previous staff. "Oh man," Payton told Bell, "there's so much dirt around that. There's 20 dirty hands for what was allowed, tolerated in the frickin' training rooms, the meeting rooms, the offense. I don't know, Hackett. A lot of people had dirt on their hands. It wasn't just Russell. He didn't just flip. He still has it. This BS that he hit a wall. Shoot, they couldn't get a play in. They were 29th in the league in pre-snap penalties on both sides of the ball. And that is the point that he is trying to drive home, is that you have to create an atmosphere for success before you can judge a player. Now, if everything in the play design, right? No pre-snap penalties. The play design was perfect. The receiver's open, and then that quarterback misses it. That's when it's on the quarterback. But I think what he's trying to say is there was so much chaos and penalties, and it was so sloppy last season that I don't know if any quarterback would have succeeded in this situation. Not a way that we can possibly judge Russell Wilson. Now, who am I going to believe? People on, Twitter and Facebook, or am I going to believe the guy that is at these meetings, at these training camps, actually there in the room? And by the way, I have a feeling Sean Payton would have absolutely no reason to start lying at, his old age. And I really think that the Russell Wilson talk might have been one of the things that made him snap, right? There's just so much bullying that is going on with Russ that he is, washed. And imagine you're the person that takes that job. And especially Sean, man, he worked for the media last year. Imagine doing a whole year of segments and, titles and takes that all have to do with how Russ has fallen apart. And then you get this job and you go in there and your eyes open and you're like, whoa, oh my God, this is so, so bad. And yeah, no wonder. I think it all clicked for him, that aha moment. And I think that is why this quote came out personally. So Peyton was careful not to lump the disaster all on the QB shoulder. He still got gas in the tank, he said. He went on to say that wasn't his fault. Peyton told Bell of Russell Wilson. That was the parents who allowed it. I forgot there was a parent reference in this quote, or maybe it was there subconsciously, but that's cool that I did the parent thing. That's not an incrimination on him, but an incrimination on the head coach, the GM, the president, and everyone else who watched it happen. Peyton added, but everybody's got a little stink on their hands. It's not just Russell. It was a poor offensive line. It might have been the worst coaching jobs in the history of the NFL. That's how bad it was. And that is like reinforcing what you're saying. In the NFL, and then following that up by yes, like that's how bad it was. So in explaining how he turned the Broncos focus, or how he's turning around the Broncos by focusing on their work habits, Peyton took a swipe at the New York Jets, Hackett's current team. It doesn't happen often where an NFL team or organization gets embarrassed. That's what happened here. Part of it was their own fault relative to spending too much, and I'm going to say it, relative to spending too much fucking time trying to win the offseason. The PR, the pomp, the circumstance, marching people around in this stuff. We're not doing any of that. The Jets did that. The Jets did that this year. You watch. Hard Knocks, all of it. I can see it coming. Remember when former Commanders owner Dan Snyder put that dream team together? I was at the Giants in 2000. I was a young coach. I thought, how are we going to compete with them? Deion Sanders there now. That team won 8 games or whatever. So listen, just put the work in. And Jets head coach Robert Saleh told reporters during his scheduled press conference today, if you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping, so hate away. He also said, I don't know why Sean Payton's talking about us. We don't play them till week 4. In fact, it is week 5 that you play the Broncos. No fault there. I'm just gently correcting. But yeah, this did turn into a whole ass thing, and I cannot wait for week 5. It is going to be electric. Bill said 29 on both sides. Damn. Yeah, I get your orderly person walks into the chaos house analogy. What does Sean, or who does Sean report to? I thought Perna said he goes right to the owners. Maybe that's why he can be this fiery. And that's another thing to question is this strategic to try to, I don't think so, because if Sean Payton's really this direct with the way he talks, I don't think he's going to play games. I've heard some people in the media saying maybe he's starting a spark because he doesn't want the GM there, Payton, Gary Payton. And I'm telling you right now, that's not true because the owners, when they interviewed Sean Payton, they interviewed him with our GM and then they removed him from the room. And I guarantee you the question was, if you are going to take this job and it's him that's in the way, we will fire him right now and hire you. I am positive about that. So I think he's had an opportunity to get rid of him, and if he wanted to do it now, I think he would just walk into the owner. I don't think he would call USA Today and make up a jab. I think he really just means that everybody that is in this facility that has a responsibility of some sort of management in the team has dirty hands, right? Because that's just the way accountability works, right? It's not just on one person. It's on everybody. So, that was s a crazy thing to wake up to. That was insane. And I wanted to do a really quick search because, obviously there's some other news today. Saquon Barkley, um, we'll talk about Saquon Barkley's epiphany before he signed his contract. Talk about, some injuries that happened today, significant players, and we're gonna talk about Buda Baker getting a raise. But before we do, I did get into a tiny rabbit hole, and I was looking at Sean as because, like I said, once Sean Payton said that that was the worst run team he might have ever seen, that to me opened up the side of me that really believed that we had a playoff team last year. So I wanted to look back and say, what is a realistic thing? Who is Sean Payton most of the times? Well, in 2006, the Saints were 3-13, and they did not have Sean Payton, and they did not have Drew Brees. They hired Sean Payton. Sean Payton brings in Drew Brees, and they were first in the NFC South, and they went to the conference championship. The NFC Championship, year one, Drew Brees had 4,418 yards, 28 touchdowns, only 11 interceptions. The offense was ranked at fifth points per game, and the defense was 13th. Okay. Now, this kind of gave me a lot of hope because I noticed a reoccurring theme. Sean Payton was almost the coach that Mike Tomlin has that reputation, has never had a losing season. Well, Sean Payton has had 3 losing seasons, and they were in a row. But the worst it ever was 7-9. So, I mean, that just shows you, like Mike Tomlin, like there is a floor that no matter how little talent or how many injuries, if all the worst things happen to us, we're still going to win almost half of our games because I'm an amazing coach, right? So let's dissect that because okay, so they 2007 they go to the NFC Championship. 2008 the offense is ranked 12th, defense is ranked 25th. And Drew Brees threw for almost the exact same yards in 2007 and 2008. In 2009, the offense shooted all the way to first, but the defense was ranked 26th. So they finished the season 8-8. Sean Payton has 2 different worlds throughout his career. The world where his defense plays top 15, top 16, right? The upper top, they go to the playoffs and they only lose about 3 games. And the years that the defense is 25th and 26th, the offense is, still top 10, sometimes even first, but it doesn't matter. They end up being 8-8 because you can't have a terrible defense, no matter how good of an offense you have. So 2011, the offense was ranked second. The Saints went 13-3. The defense was ranked 13th. This to me was something worth circling because Denver's not going to have a number one offense, number two, number three, number four, number five, number six. But could Sean Payton be good enough for the Broncos to have a 13th ranked offense and a 7th ranked defense? A defense that was, number one in points allowed for 95% of the season. I think so. I think that absolutely, if the defense is playing at a, let's say, top 7 level, there's no reason to believe that the Broncos aren't going to make the playoffs this year. Those 3 years that Sean went 7-9, this is the blemish on his whole career. They went 7-9 in 2015. They went 7-9 in 2016, and they went 7-9 in 2014. So 14, 15, 16, 7-9, 7-9, and 7-9. In all of those years, so 2014, they had the 28th ranked defense, and Rob Ryan was the defensive coordinator. Then Rob Ryan got Dennis Allen, and they worked together. And then in 2015, they had the 31st ranked defense, so basically worse than the NFL. And then 2016, Rob Ryan and Dennis Allen, 31st defense in the NFL. 2017, all of a sudden, they fixed their problem on defense. And they didn't change their coordinator. They still had Dennis Allen, which I found kind of interesting. But in 2017, they went from 7-9 to 13-3. And I'm like, damn, what changed? Well, the defense was 10th in points allowed in 2017. And because of that, the Saints finished first in the NFC South and made it to the divisional round in the playoffs. In 2018, the defense was ranked 14th. They went 11-5, went to the conference championship, missed the Super Bowl by 3 points. The point is Denver has a really good defense, which is great news if you're catching my drift here. Sean Payton is going to have the offense scoring. This will probably be a top 12, 13, somewhere around there. But when you add that to the defense, Sean Payton has proven if you give me a top 10 defense in general, we are going to the conference championship. And he has a lot of years to prove that point. It's not like it happened once or twice. This is, a 15-year theme. So, and I knew Sean Payton was, a good coach, but I never saw it on paper like that. I never saw, oh, wow, the only times he had a losing season, they were 31st on defense all those years and 28th. So I think that this is actually a really good situation. And I think once all this stuff gets cleaned up, it's going to take a little bit of time. But I don't think that even believing that this team could go all the way, right? I just don't think that I don't think they will, don't get me wrong. But I almost think at this point it's more believable than thinking that what happened last year is going to happen again. That for sure is not going to happen. And that's my daily dose of Broncos. And Bill said 2017 equals 11-5. 2017. Oh, and then 2018 they were 13-3. Okay. Backwards on my notes. Thank you. No, I'm glad you said that because I would have been outside of Bronco games debating people. You went 13-3 in 2017. Man, one more thing, I swear. I wanted to move on, but I don't want to miss this in my notes. In 2021, which was I got 13-3 in 2019. and the defense was ranked 13th, right? 12-4, 2020, the defense was ranked 5th. So, I mean, it's like, I mean, you'll see it, Bill. If you're going through the years, you're going to see it. Um, and they lost 2020 in the divisional round, but 2021 is the one I really wanted to circle here. In 2021, the Saints went 9-8. They had the 4th ranked defense, which Denver could very well be the 4th ranked defense. But the offense was ranked 19th. Okay. So this would be the point where a doubter would get skeptical. Okay. Because Denver could have a 4th ranked defense and a 19th ranked offense. That absolutely could happen. And if that happens, are you saying we're going to be 9-8? Well, that's what a lot of, the TVs are saying. Have you seen any of the predictions? So how realistic is it? Well, you got to look deeper. Sean Payton went 9-8 and had the 19th ranked offense with Trevor Siemian, Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill, and Ian Book all starting games. All starting games. Ian Book, I remember he started a Sunday night football game. Never played a professional. That was his first start in the NFL. Trevor Siemian, he's a backup quarterback. Jameis Winston couldn't even hold down that job. I don't know if it was injuries. Taysom Hill is a tight end. You're telling me that he can get to a 19th ranked offense with this? Alvin Kamara didn't even have 1,000 yards rushing that season. And he had 439 receiving yards. The wide receivers? Oh, you probably remember these guys. Not. Traquan Smith, Deontay Hardy, and Marquez Callaway. All joking aside, I do know who those guys are, but they are not, I would replace Jerry Jeudy with any of these three, Cortland Sutton with any of these three, Tim Patrick with any of these three. And I would replace Russell Wilson with all those quarterbacks. So I feel that if Sean Payton has such great offensive skills, because his big thing is he's not going to put you in a position to fail. Like if Greg Dulcich sucks at blocking, Greg Dulcich is going to be running, routes. He's not going to be blocking. That's kind of the Payton approach. You're not forcing your players to do anything other than what they're exceptional at. It is a team sport. And if you can get 10 or 11 guys that can do their own unique thing and be great at it, then you got yourself a team. Like some of these players that you see, right? You're like, why did he draft him? You're sitting there wondering, you're like, he's not that great. And then you look at the Madden rating and you're like, whoa, he's a 99 at, blocking, just something totally random. And then you see, oh, he got him to protect the blind side. Just like that was a terrible example, but you know what I mean? Like, oh, he brought in that tight end because he knows Greg Dulcich can't block. So when they're in a running formation or a running set, they're going to substitute in, Doyle or whoever. I'm very excited about this year. And I think with the weapons and the mind of Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, even if he has declined, I think that this is a 12-5 football team, and I'll leave it at rest at that. Bill said, I was just looking to see what the years for Bounty Gate. Yeah, if the stuff might have affected him. You have way more details than I do. Oh, well, the Bounty Gate happened I believe it happened during the Super Bowl, because I remember it was 2000 and so the Packers and the Giants, they played in the NFC Championship game in 2007. And then the Giants went on to win the Super Bowl. And then 2008, Brett Favre got traded to the Jets. And I think he was only there for 1 year. And then 2009, he went to Minnesota. And Minnesota was in the NFC Championship game. That's when they had Percy Harvin. That was a great team. They should have won. And the Bounty Gate was during that year. So 2009 was Bounty Gate. And I would imagine he was suspended for the 2010 entire season, which I can confirm right now because I got Pro Football Reference up. So 2009, coach Sean Payton. Okay, I mean, it's still going to have Sean Payton as a coach. Maybe it took one more year. Let's check 2011. 2011's clean. Sometimes these things take a couple years. There it is. 2012. Wow, Bill. Good job, Bill. Record 7-9. Head coach Aaron Cromer. There you go. So 2012, no Sean Payton, and all of a sudden you got a 7-9 team. The year before, 13-3. No Sean Payton, 7-9. Third in the NFC, misses the playoffs. Sean Payton comes back the next year, 11-5. And they're in the playoffs, and they're in the divisional round, and they won a wild card game. I'm telling you, this guy is when people join your team, you really get to appreciate people. Because I don't know if I would ever have deep dived Sean Payton's, career like this if he weren't my coach. Sometimes I do things like that, but I really just, man, when you look at the years, it is truly, truly something special to see how one coach can change the culture and the winning ways of a football team. To leave a fingerprint of that magnitude on a franchise, something really special and something I'm super grateful that we have now. And that was a lot of Broncos. So thanks for bearing with me, Bill. So the Saquon Barkley news that I wanted to talk about was he had an epiphany before agreeing to sign his deal. And I wanted to see what was this epiphany, but then I didn't want to read the story because I really like doing this kind of stuff live on the podcast. I just find it more genuine. So the New York Giants running back Saquon Barkley surprised many this week when he inked a 1-year contract to report to training camp. That was a long way to say that we were surprised he signed it. Barkley agreed to a 1-year deal, a smidge over 10 million .091 franchise tag figure to boost his salary to the 11 million. We don't need to go over that. Here we go. Ultimately, he didn't even miss one day of training camp. Here is what Mr. Barkley, Mr. Underappreciated, had to say. I had an epiphany, Barkley told reporters on Thursday. The reality of it is, one, I kind of just followed my heart. Honestly, I heard what everyone was saying in the news on social media, but I kind of just followed my heart. And then you've got to look at it as a business point of view. I felt like, what's the best thing that I can do? Some people may agree or disagree with this. It's a sit out or sit in, and I feel like this, or I feel like this for this year specifically, the best thing that I can do for myself would be coming back, going out there and playing the game that I love, playing for my teammates, doing something that I wanted to do since I was a little kid. I understand. I know what's going on with the running back situation and me being tagged and the value of the running back continuing to go down. The only way I feel like that's going to change is someone's got to make a change. And God willing, hopefully I can be one of those people to do it. And man, there's a lot there. I was saying earlier on the Madden ratings, because Barkley was, I think he was the 4th or 5th ranked running back, and he had a 94. And it's just like, man, the underappreciation. It's like when it rains, it really does pour. I mean, we went on to say that there's a lot of running backs that I wouldn't pay, right? And Barkley is one of the special ones that I would, right? And I just think sometimes it it you know, let me put it like this. I have never in my lifetime had a running back as good as Saquon Barkley on my team. So, I think part of it is just like, when you just see somebody that has opportunities that you don't have and they just piss them all away. Just I have a couple of just rich friends that would always just beat the shit out of their Range Rovers, and they knew mom would, you know, put it in the shop and fix it up if anything went wrong. And you just like, you don't even appreciate the nice things you have. You should be waxing your Range Rover, not beating the shit out of it. Should, take care of that. And I really feel like that about Saquon Barkley. It's like these don't grow on trees. They don't. I don't. I know people may think that the position is so easy to replace. It's not. It's really not. It's only easy to replace if you have Andy Reid or Patrick Mahomes. The NFL only has one Andy Reid and it only has one Patrick Mahomes. We even think Joe Burrow is the potentially the second best quarterback in the NFL, and he has a star running back. So if it really is, if you have such a special quarterback, you don't need to invest in running back. That's just not true. Saquon Barkley is going to be in the Hall of Fame, and he is clearly the best player on your team. And you can't even pay the guy. I think he had no choice. At the end of the day, his epiphany sounds to me, his big epiphany is maybe if I just do the right thing, what he considers the right thing, right? Maybe if I just do it for the love of the game, like he said, I've been watching this game since I was a little kid. If I just go out there and love what I do, love who I am, and succeed again, like I did last year, right? Because he knows what he's capable of, right? I think last year they didn't, I don't think they picked up his fifth year option last year. I might be mistaken, but I remember a Sunday night football game where they did kind of that deep dive interview and we were in his house and stuff. And I remember him saying that, I'm hearing from fan base that I'm going to have a bounce back year. He's like, I was good last year too. He was like, he was coming off an injury last year. So he's like, maybe that's part of it, but he's like, no, I didn't go anywhere. I've never gone anywhere. And if the people that really watch me know that I've always been him. I've always been that good. I've always been Saquon Barkley. So I think he's just thinking, you know what? If I go out there again and I lead the NFL in rushing and rushing yards and touchdowns, and the Giants somehow are able to get back into the position that they were in, not somehow, but if they do, then I will definitely get that big contract because you can't put somebody in the same situation twice, right? Ethically, if Saquon Barkley does everything that his contract says, everybody knows that he should be paid more. But then at the end of it, it's almost like they can't do that again. It's like you can only do that once. You can't be an asshole twice. So he really believes that he's going to go out there and have another really good season. And then this time he'll be holding the gun at the end of the season, and it'll be the Giants that are forced to pay him. That's his epiphany. That's how I read his epiphany. And Bill said, it is what it is. As he said, I'm hoping they need the tag for someone else next year and have to give him a 2 to 3 year deal. They did pick up his fifth year option, by the way. Okay, so they did pick it up, but still a 2 to 3, I would think even, yeah, 3 years probably should have been a 4-year deal this year, but 3 years at the end of this year. I mean, who knows, man? He might, if he goes out there and has his career type of year, it's going to be like somehow, in some way, it'll be a huge middle finger to the Giants front office. And at the very same time, it'll be a huge middle finger from the front office of the Giants to Saquon Barkley. You figure it out. And then Bill said, but per the CBA, you can be an asshole twice. That's why Le'Veon Bell went out that year. Yes, you can, but you do have to have, like, you can't just not care about your reputation. If you're blatantly an asshole, it will catch up to you. It just will. And Saquon Barkley will get paid from a different team. Somebody else will pay for Saquon Barkley, right? If Kyle Shanahan wants CMC on his team, then there's another really great coach out there that wants Saquon Barkley. So this is maybe his last year as a Giant. It would be a huge dick move. Speaking of dick moves, there was a segment about Budda Baker getting a pay raise. Now, I've wanted Budda Baker to get paid because I think he was, especially watching in-season Hard Knocks, Budda Baker was really good last year, and I just feel like sometimes when you're on a really crappy team, you just don't get the type of attention or money or hype that somebody else would get. But then I was reading this article and I was like, wait a minute, what? Because the way it reads is that Budda Baker, when he was the highest paid safety at one point, and I'll read it to you and you tell me. The way it sounded to me was like he signed a 4-year deal, but the first 2 years, the money was front heavy, right? So a lot of the money was pushed to the year 1 and year 2. And then year 3 and year 4 was only like $13 million. And then he wanted a pay raise, but he signed a $59 million extension. It's just most of the money was pushed to the front. Now we're past the front and it's time to make 13 million. And he's like, no. And that's when I was like, wait a minute, that, I don't think that's how it works. So I'm going to read it and you guys tell me how it sounds to you. Baker inked a 4-year, $59 million extension in Arizona in 2020, a market-setting deal for the safety position that was and has since been leapfrogged. With 2 years remaining, Baker was set to earn only $13.096 million in base salary in 2023 and $14 million in 2024. However, none of that money was guaranteed. The 5-time Pro Bowl sought a new pact. When none materialized, he requested a trade back in April. So the reason I think it's front heavy is because 59 million, but now that was in 2020, right? So it was a 4-year deal and he's only set to make 27 million in his final 2 years. So that 23, 24, 25, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, 31. It's like $32 million in his first 2 years, right? But he wasn't getting paid, right? If he made $32 million in his first 2 years, then that would mean he's making like $15.5 million a season. So now he's set to earn 13 and 14. And he's like, no. And it's like, well, what's 59 divided by 4? Okay, because this seems very, very simple to me. And it's 14.75. Okay. So he signed the contract and he got paid a little bit more than the average for the 4 years on the front. And usually the way I look at it is if somebody were to say, hey, man, I'm going to give you, $100 by the end of the month, and somebody gives me $900 on the first, it's like, okay, I got a lot of money and there's only going to be, $100 more coming to me. So, you got to keep that in mind. But I don't know if he just wanted more money. When people continue to get pay raises, I'm wondering how long Mahomes will be satisfied. Because I think it can get to you, but like, there's got to be a line where we, where's the line of honoring your contract and being underappreciated? Because if, Buda Baker set a high, a market setting deal, right? And then you got people like Saquon Barkley who can't even get a deal. So to me, it's like, oh my gosh, I understand everybody wants to get their money and all of that. I do. And I know this is all part of the game, but I think sometimes too, it's nice to see somebody just honor their initial contract, right? It's like even Joe Burrow doesn't have he's still on his rookie contract. Isn't that just incredible? But he did sign a rookie deal and he's honoring that contract. So what they're going to end up doing is they reworked the deal partially, and they explain why there was a no hold in from the star safety. That explains why he didn't hold in. So, what did they end up doing here? Okay, so with 2 years remaining, he was going to earn 13 and 14 million. However, none of that money was guaranteed, and he sought a new pact. When none materialized, he requested a trade back in April. I remember doing a podcast on that. And the rework deal is not actually listed in here. Um, that must mean that they don't know what it is, but whatever, he got his bonus. So at least when it comes to people that love, their Cardinals, because Buda Baker is the heart and soul of that team. I'm all about keeping the heart and soul players, Um, so Bill said over the cap hasn't updated, wondering if the last year is a void year. Yeah, I mean, I love over the cap. I freaking love that. Um, they're so good at breaking everything down. Um, and then Bill said, "What the hell is Austin Fort up to with his deal? Their new GM." Yeah, I mean, I are you saying because of how long it took, or just in reference to um giving him the deal in the first place? Because that could go one or two very different directions. And then I'll go on with the injury updates. And this was kind of a sad um, football day, right? Yeah, I mean, you wake up and Sean Payton is screaming. Your parents are fighting, and then you see two of the top two at their position go down, and Joe Burrow and Jalen Ramsey. Um, and when Burrow was carted off, it was a calf injury. I watched the play. He kind of hopped, and then he just kind of sat down. It might be just like a severe strain, right? So think about when you are straining a muscle, you can't put weight on it in that moment. That doesn't mean anything popped or anything like that, but it is, like I said initially, sometimes it's just the protocol to sit down, right? If something funky's going on, just sit down. Something might be dislocated, we don't know, so don't screw with it. Um, Something definitely happened, and it looks a lot like my dad. He used to play flag football. We used to play on Saturdays. It was like an adult thing, and I was like the only kid out there. But I remember he had to wear these calf compression things because he tore his calf a couple times, calf muscle. It almost looked like that type of a thing. I thought it looked less I thought it looked less jointy, and it looked more like how you when you slightly tear part of your calf, it had that look to it. I'm totally just guessing. But hopefully, everything is fine and it was mostly precautionary because I really, really want to see Joe Burrow happy and healthy and playing the game. And it was Baker got 2.4 million in bonus to stay. Okay. Oh, 2.4 dyslexia. Um, so plus 300,000. So that's not bad. That's not bad at all. So that's basically like $2.7 million. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. The top 100 players, I wanted to end it on this one because the top 100 players that we're doing has been a lot of fun, and it continued to roll on today with the next group of players. As a refresher, we did 100 to 91. I believe my biggest problem was Trevor Lawrence being at 96, or yeah, I believe, yeah, number 96. Then we did 90 to 81, and my biggest problem was DeAndre Hopkins being a 90, and even a bigger problem than that was that Justin Fields is an 86. So that kind of threw me off. And then we did 80 to 71, and that was Mark Andrews, Dre Greenlaw, and a the safety for the 49ers, Geno Smith, and Trey Hendrickson. And then we moved up. I think that's Buda Baker, actually. Yep, Buda Baker, 73. And then Lamar Jackson at 72. And then this is what came out today. So here we are. We are officially current here. This is 70 to 61. I know this sounds dumb, but for the viewers that may be wondering, as we get closer to 1, the players are getting better. So here we go. Number 70, Mr. Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa. The brother of Nick Bosa. Um, I mean, I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, Nick Bosa is really good. Is Joey Bosa as good as Nick Bosa? Not really, not right now, but if he has a dominant year, then it's gonna look dumb that he was all the way at 70. I mean, when I think of disruptive, I think like Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, TJ Watt. Um, those are the guys that really come to mind. Like if you got those guys healthy, that makes a huge difference in the game for a defensive lineman. Okay. So, I mean, 70 might be a little high. Then it goes to Matt Milling, number 69, and he plays for the Buffalo Bills, linebacker. I'm assuming because he's wearing number 56. Then we got Zach Martin at 68, who has been the best center. I think he's been the best center in the league since his rookie year, and he wants a new deal, and most believe that he deserves it. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown at 67. See, having him higher than DeAndre Hopkins, I can't get down with that. Jared Goff at 66. I do like that they're giving Jared Goff some love because statistically he had a very good year. Don't have a problem with that. Darius Slay is at 65. Then we got Aaron Jones at 64. Grady Jarrett from Atlanta at 63. Bobby Wagner, 62. I was surprised Bobby Wagner to be here at 62, just because it seems like, if players are getting older and their team, didn't make a huge splash, that they're getting forgotten about. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, team sucks, getting older, but he's still, a top 10 receiver in the league. Bobby Wagner, getting older, the Rams sucked, but he's still a top 10 linebacker, but they got him at 62. I guess he's getting some love because this is voted on by the players. And then at 61, you got Deebo Samuel, wide receiver / running back / wide receiver slash running back for the San Francisco 49ers. And the count goes on. So tomorrow it'll be 60-51. And I'm really excited to see where some of my guys that are in my headline. I'm excited to see where Saquon Barkley lands. I'm excited to see where Patrick Surtain lands. Every day that we do this and I don't say Surtain's name is important because I expected him to make the biggest jump last year and he wasn't even on the top 100. So if I could somehow pull off like a 90 spot jump, that would be pretty incredible. That would be hard to beat for the upcoming years. And I believe I'm going with Trevor Lawrence this year. He's over here at 96. I think he goes up into the 15 area by the end of this year. But this is how you know football's back. Unfortunately, it's when training camp starts and you're getting real news. No more fluff. No more talking about expectations. It's time to talk about our predictions, and it's time for the preseason to start. I believe the first game of the season, uh, and traditionally is played in Canton, Ohio, and it should start on a Thursday, like it always does. And the first game is going to be, what is the preseason game? What is that game called? There's a name for it. It's called the first. I got to figure this out. I'm gonna freak out if I don't get this. It is called, here we go, preseason week 1. 2023, damn it. Okay. Texans Patriots. So Thursday. Okay, so Thursday, August 10th. And then you're going to have Vikings Seahawks. All right. So do we not have that game anymore? It used to play. Do you know what I'm talking about, Bill? It used to play on Hall of Fame game. Yeah, it's called the Hall of Fame game. Thank you. Yeah, I guess I don't know if they're doing that anymore, but there's 2 games and none of them said Hall of Fame game. Maybe they'll just paint it on the field. And Bill saying Burrow confirming it's just a calf strain. And then he goes, side note, Rich Eisen replied to my tweet about him fighting for running backs yesterday. No freaking way. Oh my God. That is awesome. I'm so pumped for you, dude. I want Rich Eisen to, man, that's so cool when you know that they're reading, your messages. That is so cool. So Rich Eisen, somebody that will scroll a little bit. He's not a post and forget guy. That is that's kind of good to know. Man. Yeah, I made some videos in the past where I used him, not in a weird way or a bad way, but I made a Russell Wilson video last year right before week 1 that was like his return to Seattle and it was so hype. I'm going to send it to you after this podcast. And it had Rich Eisen in the beginning of it, so I sent it to him, hoping that he would be like, "Whoa, dude, that's awesome. Can I use this on my network?" And I would be like, "Yeah, of course you can. Just make sure that you use my YouTube name." And he's like, "Of course I will. If you want to come on our show, we will, let you promote it yourself too." And I would be like, "Yeah, of course." And then I would do so well on the show that he would be like, "You know what? You should just be here working with us." And I'd be like, "I would, but I don't have a job offer." And he's like, "I'm offering you a job." And then I'm like, "Oh, I got to go home and get my stuff." He's like, "No, you don't have to. I'm paying for it to be shipped here." That would be, my ideal scenario with Rich Eisen. Rich Eisen's my favorite talk show person. I don't know if I wake up in the morning and I'm having my coffee, you're driving to work, just hearing Rich Eisen makes me feel like I'm having a deep conversation with my father in the passenger seat. It just gives off that vibe. Just, I don't know what it is. Uh, He goes, "Take the job. You'd be local here with me." That would be so cool. Bill and Kyle doing things live. And then I got the DM. If you guys want to message me as well, man, I made Craigslist video or Craigslist post today for the city of Miami, for the city of Jacksonville, the city of Chicago, the city of Green Bay. And I'm just really hoping I don't get any strange messages or weird people that show up. But I'm really, really hoping that we get some people. I basically just said, "Hey, I'm going to be out here. I'm going to be in your city. I'm going to be setting up a podcast. And if you guys want to be interviewed, let's set it up." Because the closer I get towards this, I feel a little bit like I'm winging it, which is fun in its own way because I tend to be very good in that space. But I also I care a lot about this working, and I realize in order for it to work, there has to be, a baseline level of planning. Like for Seattle, there's nowhere to tailgate here. You literally like you just park your car wherever you can find parking. Like think about just being in a city and you're trying to parallel park, like wherever you can park. Some people own those lots where you can park in those lots for, $50, but there's few of those, and when they're out, they're out. I mean, it's very, very difficult just to park and get to the Seahawks game. There's nowhere that you're going to be setting up a table. You're in the middle of a city. You can't just set up a table and start. I mean, you can, but I'm trying to avoid places like that. Like in Denver, people park. It's probably like 100-acre, gravel area, and people just park their car, back. They just keep making rows, and everybody's outside talking and cooking, and there's nothing around. It's like you're in the city, but the city kind of like put, Mile High Field on its own little, in its own little place. So, you feel like you're just in, the Denver Broncos world, even though you're only, a mile away from the Nuggets arena and you are in the city. It's a very cool thing. And Jacksonville's like that too. You park and you party. And I was wondering, I'm like, is there any cities I'm going to go to and I'm not going to be able to set up, or, I'm just going to be all alone. I don't know anybody and there's nowhere to set up my shit. And, so we'll see. We'll see. If you know specifically, anybody watching know that your city is kind of like Seattle when it comes to this, let me know, please, because it doesn't mean I wouldn't go there. It just means that I would be, better prepared for when I get there. So, Bill, Bill and Kyle live would be fire. I just have to learn about the other teams. Dude, you would crush it. You'd crush it. Um, and you know what? I'm having a really good time now that football's back. And usually I would be like, all right, I'll see you guys on Monday. And I probably, will still see you guys on Monday. All I'm saying is at this point in the year, I'm going to go live when the NFL calls for it. Like if today was Friday and the Sean Payton and the injuries, I would be going live on Friday. So, you know, we're going to stick to the schedule, but if for, any other day, something crazy or big happens, I'm going to go live and we're going to talk about it here. So, thank you guys. It's been a long day from doing the matting ratings to doing this podcast, but I'm having a good time. So, if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at FTBLONLYPODCAST, and you can follow my partner Rick at and now Rick ANDNOWRICK, and you can like us on Facebook, on Twitch, on God, I'm so bad at the social medias. All of the social medias, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, we're everywhere. So you can just find us wherever you are, right? You don't have to come to us. We're going to come to you. So definitely, if you enjoy this kind of stuff, join the family. This is a good time. We're about to head into it, and we're about to have a blast. And we're gonna be as as Jay Z would say, we're gonna be in this bitch. So I'm looking forward to it. So that's all I got for today. Thank you guys for coming in here once again. This isn't a Broncos only thing. I know I spent 23 minutes on the Broncos, but um, I just never heard anything like that. So hope you guys liked it. Hopefully you were entertained, and I will see you guys very soon. Have a good night. Thanks for stopping in. See ya.